All right, guys, in this video, I'm gonna talk to you about getting and staying motivated. First off, there's a book I need you to read. You must read it. It is called Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. In my early stages of running, I think this is the book one of the books at the running store invited me to run when I went in looking for a knee brace. And basically, it's a book about this ancient tribe of Indians in Mexico called the Tarahumara Indians, and they are all amazing ultramarathoners just by their lifestyle. They run through the mountains and they have no special gear. For shoes, they cut off a piece of tire tread and strap it to their feet. Like, it's insane, and they're the most amazing runners. And then the author, he actually travels there and runs with them and learns from them. And there's this mythical creature called Caballo Blanco that has lived amongst the Indians forever. And they staged this big race between the best American runners and the best Tarahumara Indians. And it kind of talks about running. It goes into a running injury and all these different things. And it is really like the most exciting, amazing book. And it was in that book where I first learned about ultramarathons. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought marathons were the end-all, be-all, biggest thing you could do in running. But there is kind of no limit to what these types of races can be. Most common are, 50K, 100K, 100 mile, 50 mile, but there's races that span over weeks. There's, running on the beach throughout the night. There's just a million different kinds of races. Anyway, so that kind of introduced me to it and really inspired me. And it kind of just teaches that all humans literally are born to run. It's in our DNA. We used to hunt animals by persistence hunting, where they would pretty much run animals to death. Like humans would run an antelope or a deer to death. They would just circle it and run all day, all night. And that was what humans used to do to kill animals. And so there's just so many cool things. It's inspirational, it's entertaining, it is so fun. Read Born to Run. Okay, moving on. Next thing to stay motivated is don't compare yourself to where other people are today. Compare yourself to where you were yesterday. As long as you are making an effort, making progress, even if you're not seeing a ton of progress, as long as you're putting in that effort daily and striving towards something, making adjustments when needed, then that's what you need to be looking at. Don't worry about what other people have done, you get on Facebook and they're like, oh, my friend has did a 7-minute mile. Oh, I'm never gonna be able to do that. It doesn't matter. It's you're getting out, you're moving your body. That is what is important. And even if speed is not your goal, just getting out and figuring out running, like, it became a challenge to me. I wanted to be able to run as far as I wanted and as fast as I wanted, that my body was capable of doing. And I accomplished that. I did a 100-mile race. I did multiple sub-3-hour marathons. And there are so many resources out there to be able to accomplish that. When I went from a 4-hour marathon to a 3-hour marathon, there was a book called Advanced Marathoning by Pete Fitzinger or something. He's an Olympian, and that is the book that I followed the exact path. If I do this, you can do this. I went and got my blood tested. I did all these things, and it worked. I went from a fall 4-hour marathon to a spring 3-hour marathon. I took an hour off my marathon time. And just amazing. There's so many good books out there. For running form, I recommend Chi Running by Danny Dreyer and Barefoot Running. Can't remember the name of the author, but anyways, those are the 3 main books that I recommend. But as far as inspiration, that Born to Run book is just so good. And then you can dive into technique and running plans in those other books. Find yourself an accountability partner. Find somebody that you can check in with, and maybe they're on the same type of journey as you. Maybe you're both just like, hey, let's figure out this running thing. Because I believe everybody gets to a point in their life where they are either being forced to run for their health, or they want to like it, but they just don't like it. So figure out an accountability partner, figure out if music is the right thing for you. Having a good running playlist is so important for me. And I'm always looking for good upbeat running songs. It's different for everybody what they're gonna like to run to. Some people like to run to like inspirational talks and stuff like that. Whatever works for you, just figure it out. Be careful who you take advice from. You know, there's as much different advice out there as there are runners. Everybody has their things, and just because it works for somebody doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. I'm giving my opinions, my journey, what has worked for me. Take from it the little bits and pieces that are gonna help you out on your journey. A big piece of motivation for me was setting a goal and signing up for a race that absolutely terrifies you. My very first race as an adult, I didn't care about the half marathon. I went straight for the marathon. That was the thing I wanted to do. I have done half marathons since, but my very first race, the very first year I did it, I did a marathon, and my plan was to go completely to then go to the 50-mile race, and I did it. And those absolutely terrified me, just so scary, and especially that 50-mile race. So it was 5 in the morning, we're running off with headlamps. It was just the most surreal, strange, terrifying, exhilarating experience. And you know, when you cross that finish line, there's so many metaphors for life, and you know, your family's cheering you on, and there's really nothing like it. It's something that's almost addicting, feeling that adrenaline, that runner's high when you're crossing the finish line. It's so emotional. When I push myself to my physical limits, that's when I really become close. I become close to God, because I think so many times in our lives are so easy. We don't push ourselves to our physical limits. There's nothing like it. There's nothing we can experience that is like when we're at the end of the road and I'm in the middle of an ultramarathon, and I'm wishing a mountain lion would just attack me so I can be out of this race. And like, this was a really bad idea. But then, you know, having that relationship with God and pushing through, and you know, you really find out who you are and what you're made of, and it's so fun. And maybe it's not the 50 miles, maybe it's not the ultramarathons, maybe it's your first 5K, maybe it's you getting through a few miles without walking. Maybe that is your end all be all, and that's awesome. Props to you. Whatever it takes, whatever you're at, take yourself to the next level physically. And then it's gonna push you emotionally and spiritually as well when you're pushing yourself to that next level. And don't think I covered this in my little article on myths about running, but people think that they have to run the entire time in a race. Even my very fastest marathon, when I kept it the overall average faster than a 7-minute mile, I still walked through every aid station. So don't think you're not accomplishing it if you're not running the whole time. That is an absolute myth. You can take walking breaks. Another thing to get motivated for a marathon, go to the end of a marathon and watch it. The people you see running a marathon, it will amaze you. You see all body shapes and sizes. You see people with no legs running, or cancer survivors, or little kids running it. Like, it will blow your mind, and the emotion and, you know, the cheering crowd. Go watch the end of a marathon. It will totally inspire you to get out and do your first one. When you are taking advice from people, like, look into what they've done. If you go to a running store and ask for some opinions, like, ask them what they've accomplished. If it's some high school kid that has maybe run a mile once in their life and they're teaching you about running, probably not the best person to get advice from. I hope that I do have a little bit of experience in running. That's why I feel I have some validity to teach this to you. And so when you're getting advice from people, look into what they've accomplished, and you know, take what you can. Now, there is no one solution for every runner. You take bits and pieces from all, like, I've studied chi running and barefoot running and all these different things, and I'll take little bits and pieces and find a formula that works for me. So hopefully that works. That is my video on getting motivated and staying motivated as a runner.